Welcome to Off the Page, the show where we talk with Colorado authors to get the story behind the story. I'm Stacy McKenzie, a librarian here at Mamie Dowd Eisenhower Public Library in Broomfield. Later in the show, we're going to be talking with Sue Allegrezza with her book about Billy Raccoon. But first, I'm so happy to have Natasha Wing with us. Hello, Natasha.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about your book, Fresh Snow. But you have a lot of books, don't you?
Yes, and this isn't all of them.
Wow.
I've been at this for 24 years.
This is a wonderful collection, 24 years. Mm-hmm. What brought you to be a children's author?
Well, I actually went to school at Arizona State, and I studied advertising.
Okay.
So I got a BS in advertising, and I did it for a little bit. I worked in an advertising agency, and then it got a little bit boring and not as creative as I wanted it to be. And so I decided to do children's books because I always loved the combining of words and pictures.
Uh-huh.
And my dear husband gave me a year. He said, well, give it a shot for a year, and if it works, you can go and be a children's book author. If it doesn't, go back and get a job.
And it worked.
It worked.
I mean, look, it worked.
Yes, thankfully.
Tell me a little bit about the first book you ever got published.
That's Hippity Hop Frog on Top.
Uh-huh.
And it's my mom's favorite because the art is really beautiful.
Uh-huh.
But it was actually inspired by another book that I was reading, another children's book, and that tends to happen to me. I'll be reading a book and then thinking of other ideas, and so that one I was reading another book. I saw a picture of a frog, and I felt sorry for him because he couldn't jump over the fence, and so I wanted to do a counting book of 10 frogs so they can pile high enough to see over a fence.
Oh, that's fabulous. So it's a counting book.
It's a counting book.
Wonderful for the young ones learning to count.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a tall book, so I'm imagining we get to see the frogs all stacked up at some point.
Yes,
How fun.
And there's some rhyme in it. I tend to gravitate towards rhyming books.
It's a beautiful, big book. Congratulations on that one. And then
you.
all those that came, talking about Fresh Snow. Tell us about Fresh Snow.
Well, now that I live in Colorado, our winters are very long, so I wanted to write a book that celebrated all the winter sports and also encourage kids to try different sports in the winter, and especially snowboarding. So it's basically my celebration of winter.
I love it. And
yeah.
What better place to have that than Colorado?
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Yeah, I just went skiing today, so.
And what age range would you say Fresh Snow is good for? We always talk about that with children's books.
I know. I say 3 to 8. There's a movement to try to get kids to start snowboarding sooner, so that's why I'm trying to target the younger kids. But I'd say 3 to 8.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
So all us Colorado parents can go out and get fresh snow to get our kids excited about snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
When I was looking at your huge collection of your other books, one of my favorite ones was the series that you've got called The Night Before. And you go through all of these different events and holidays where you talk about the night before. How did you get the idea for that wonderful series?
Well, when I was a kid, the night before Christmas was big. It was always popular, and every kid can't wait for Santa Claus to come. Well, I love the Easter Bunny. So I thought, well, there's got to be other kids out there like me who can't wait for the Easter Bunny to come. And so I just took the Christmas story and twisted it into an Easter story. And it was only supposed to be a one-book kind of situation, and then my editor really loved it, and she said, why don't we do Halloween, Thanksgiving, and it kept growing. And then it went from holidays to school subjects and then big events in kids' lives. So
my favorite one is The Night Before a New Pet.
Oh, yes.
What is that title?
The Night Before the New Pet.
The Night Before the New Pet?
That's coming out in February.
Oh, it's
yes.
coming out. Oh,
yes.
Great. What happens the night before the new pet?
Well, the family is preparing for a puppy. So, of course, they're, getting all the stuff, the toys and everything. And Dad is saying just one pet, because the little girl's like, can I have this? Can I have this? A horse and a puppy and this? He's like, nope, just one. So they go down to the shelter, and a little kitten steals Dad's heart, too. So they come home with a puppy and a kitten. I know.
I love it. I love that series. It's just a great idea and really terrific series.
Thank you.
And my other favorite one, I have an art history background, was about Joseph Albers, or Joseph Albers. How did you choose him? Because he's your only biography right now, is
So
that
far,
correct? So
yes.
far.
There's one in progress.
Oh,
so
good.
yes.
How did you pick him for your first one?
Well, when I was growing up in Connecticut, he lived down the street from me.
Oh.
And I know. And so as a kid, I didn't know he was famous. I just saw him as a man who walked up and down our street, and he stopped and said hello to our dog, Nikki, who was a German Shepherd. And then we got a Christmas card from him and his wife. And my mom actually framed it, and she never framed anybody else's Christmas card. So I was like, well, what's the deal with this one? He's like, well, he's an artist, So when I grew up and started going to museums, I went to a museum and saw one of his paintings. He did the Homage to the Square. And I looked at the name of who did it, and it said Joseph Albers. And I said, wait a minute, he was my neighbor. And so that kind of got the wheels turning. And then when I became an author, then I did more research about him.
And we also have that book in Chinese.
Chinese.
So
yes.
this book has been translated in Chinese.
Yes.
How does it feel to have one of your books translated into Chinese? You've got another one in Spanish.
It's really cool just knowing that people all over the world can read about him now, but I cannot read it out loud. The symbols are beautiful, but I don't know what they're saying. So
I have to also ask you about your illustrations. All of your books are beautifully illustrated. So let's talk about the Albers biography. How did you work with an illustrator on that one?
Well, typically they do not let the authors and the illustrators work together. So the art director chose the illustrator, and she actually lives in Canada. So that I didn't ever meet her, but she knew who Joseph Albers was because she studied art too, and she was excited to get the assignment. And because it was a biography and because she knew I had a connection to him, I did send photos, but the rest you just leave up to them and let them, create without me influencing her.
That's incredible. And is that how it worked for most of your other books?
Just about every other one except for Go to Bed Monster. It was more of a concept book, so we wanted to show the editor how the concept was going to work. So we actually did a little dummy first and sent the text and the illustrations in together. But I never met her. We weren't face to face. We just did it through emails.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guided that one a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, because not having that element not really known, and to have such a wonderful product.
You have to trust.
Yes.
And people always ask, how come you don't get to work with your illustrator? And one editor had told me the reason is because when I'm creating my text, I don't have an illustrator sitting over my shoulder saying, that should actually be a poodle, not a, not a German Shepherd, or the blonde. It should be blonde hair instead of brown. So they're not influencing me, so I shouldn't be sitting over their shoulder influencing them.
Interesting.
So I respected that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And have you just been extremely pleased with everything, or has anything shocked you when you get them back?
Not shocked. There's just one that I wasn't crazy about. And I don't know if I want to mention which one.
You don't have to.
Okay,
with
there's
all
one I was
of
like,
these, no one will know which one, because I think they're all fabulous.
They're wonderful. And actually this one I did self-publish, so I worked with the illustrator the entire way, Chandra Schultz, and she lives in Fort Collins too. So that was a great process for me.
Okay.
But typically they live in New York or some like Canada, like I said, so I never get to meet them. So
what a process.
I love it though.
I love talking about the process.
In my mind I have certain images because I also think visually, but I really enjoy what they come back with because I know I would never be able to produce it.
Yeah.
So
you're the writer.
Yeah.
You're not the artist.
Right. Hopefully my words inspire them though.
Well, Natasha, if we go to your website, what type of information can we find there?
Well, about my school visits and library visits.
Okay, great.
Often Colorado schools will contact me and want to have a real live author come, which is exciting. I also do Skypes, which I actually love because they can be very interactive and very casual.
Oh, wow.
And I let the kids kind of lead which way the session is going to go, and my husband usually hears a lot of laughter coming from that room because I'll either hold something out and then you hear that kindergarten laughter is like, ah, ha, ha, ha. So it's just really fun. And sometimes my little kitty, she'll come into my office and they get to see my cat. So I really like Skyping.
Oh, how fun to make
Yeah.
that connection with a classroom through Skype.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're successful doing that.
I love doing it. I do give away 2 free a month.
Okay.
So I have teachers contact me and book those up. So that's kind of my contribution back to the schools.
Oh, that's marvelous.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to see if they could get one of those freebies, they could come to your
Go
website.
to my website
Okay.
and contact me. Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Natasha, when you go speak to groups of children, either in person or on Skype, what types of things can we expect from that?
My main goal is to humanize the person behind the name on the front of the book. Because I remember when I was a kid, no authors ever came to our school. So I didn't ever think it was a possibility of something I can do when I grew up. So I like to go in there and tell the kids, you know, I'm a real person. Here's what my life is like, and I also happen to write.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that's my main goal, and then the other is just to get them excited about reading and maybe inspire new little authors. There's usually more hands that raise at the end when I ask who wants to be an author. It's like, I do. So hopefully I make it sound like a fun job.
It
so.
sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I think it sounds awesome.
It's a great job.
So tell me about Team Up for Literacy. So this is like taking that another level up with another author?
Yes. Teresa Funk and I do school visits separately, but we were finding that some schools needed an author for K through 8 or K through 6, and I only go up to 3 because my mostly picture books.
Right.
So we decided to team up, and then I would take the little kids and she would take the 4 through 6 or the 4 through 8, and then we would team up together and talk to the kids who are interested in writing. So it's just kind of like not a 2-for-1 exactly, but just to cover the whole school so that everybody gets to see an author.
And you've already done some of these
We have.
presentations?
Mhm.
And how'd they go?
They went really well.
It's just really well
Yeah.
received, I imagine.
Yeah, and we had a 3rd grade class who got both of us, and then those are the kids that really wanted to know more specifics about writing. So that's when they were able to ask more questions about the process, and they really enjoyed it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was fun for us too.
Well, since you mentioned process, I'd love to ask you, how do you come up with so many ideas?
Oh.
Are you just bombarded all the time? And
Yeah.
do you ever have a time when you're struggling with an idea?
No, I don't have trouble coming up with ideas. I have trouble with deciding which ones to develop.
Okay.
Because there are so many, and that's the thing that gets me excited is the spark of the idea. And then I try to carry it through as far as I can until I run out of spark.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I have to put it away and come back to it, or else I just have to say that wasn't the right one. But the ideas are not the problem. It's the editing and the making it come to the fruition to the very end. So yeah, I did what they do picture book idea for 30 days. You know, you come up with an idea for 30 days in a row, and I had no problem coming up with ideas. And then I looked at this list and went, oh no, now what do I have to develop?
Yeah,
and I
what
got
do you
excited,
pick?
but then I get, I kind of work on many projects at the same time because of that.
Oh,
There's
that's
too
exciting.
many. I know.
When you're talking to kids, young kiddos, about who are aspiring writers, what's one piece of advice that you find yourself giving them?
Well, I really do encourage them to read. I mean, it sounds cliche, but because I read, that's where ideas come from, and then I get to learn new vocabulary. I get to learn how other people put sentences together. I get to see, different worlds and different characters. So it really does stem from reading. So I really say, sometimes it does sound like it's work, but you have to do it for pleasure too.
Good, yes. And I could tell you enjoy this. It's just great work. And so I have to ask, what is your next project? Is it the biography you said is coming, or?
Well, there's one in the illustration stage right now, and it's about Jackie O. And
Wow.
I know, I was kind of intimidated at first to write about her, but she actually was instrumental in saving the Grand Central Terminal in New York City.
Uh-huh.
So she was all about preservation, and so I wanted to encourage kids to look at the old buildings around them and think maybe there's somebody who actually fought for that building. So that's the next one is coming out in 2017.
Oh, that is
I know, I can't
exciting.
wait.
I love that topic.
Yeah.
How did you ever come up with that?
Well, my agent at the time lived in New York City, or she worked in New York City, and of course, you know, Grand Central Terminal is a big landmark there. And so she had heard a little nugget about that. She planted the bug in my ear, and I just ran with it.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Because Jackie, you know.
How is it
everybody
that
knows Jackie O.
How is it that you said Grand Central Station and a train shows up?
Oh.
That's fascinating.
How often
that's
do they come
awesome.
by?
Not very often.
Okay.
Not very often. No,
That's funny.
Natasha, thank you so much for coming on the show and bringing all of your wonderful books. Next time we have you back, which maybe we'll have you back for the Jackie O book, that would be fabulous.
That would be cool.
We'll just stack more up. We'll just keep stacking them up for you.
Yeah.
We'll make room.
I'll
Thanks
have more by
again.
then. Thank you for inviting me.
You bet.
Thanks.
Join us after the break when we'll be talking with Sue Allegrezza. Where are you?
I'm just a few minutes away.
What medications do you take?
I can help you if I have the information.
Seconds count.
What if you could provide us with life-saving information before an emergency?
Now you can.
It's free, private, and secure.
Visit smart911.com to create your safety profile.
Help us help you.
Welcome back. I'm happy to have Sue Allegrezza on the show today. Hi, Sue. How are you?
Hi.
We are so happy to be talking about Billy Raccoon and his grand Colorado adventure. Before we talk about Billy, let's find out what you do whenever you are not writing children's books.
I sew a lot. I do other paintings and drawings. We square dance a lot, and so I make all of our square dance outfits.
I see.
That's mainly what we do.
That sounds great. That sounds like a bunch of great stuff
It
to
is.
do. So let's talk about Billy. Introduce us to Billy Raccoon.
Billy Raccoon is a curious little raccoon. He's always wanted to know what was outside his mountain valley. And one day he decided to leave and go explore wherever his little feet took him. He ran all over the state of Colorado talking to the animals about the sights they see, like the Georgetown Loop train, the sand dunes, clear out onto the eastern plains through the national grasslands. My book has all of the state symbols, national and state parks.
How old is Billy the raccoon? Is he a young raccoon?
He's a young raccoon.
He's a young raccoon. So
but
kids
he
can-
doesn't age.
He doesn't age. No, that's good. That's nice in the book.
Yes.
To not age. So he's clever, like a lot of readers. What age group would you say is best for this book?
Well, I know fourth graders are studying Colorado history
Okay, great.
and geology, or geology.
Geography?
Geography is the word I wanted. And they learn a lot of things that are included in the book.
Perfect. Okay, so great for fourth graders.
Yes.
To learn a lot about Colorado history.
But anybody of any age, I've got some little bitties that just have to have it read to them every night, and some adults have learned things they didn't know.
Well, I really enjoyed it, and
Good.
one of the things I enjoyed the most was the illustrations. and you illustrated the book also. So you are author and illustrator of the book.
I am.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
And I want to point out that Billy is on your lapel, so you even illustrate jackets. So
I
that's
paint on everything.
you paint on every surface.
Uh-huh.
Is Billy something that you like to draw and paint before you decided to write about him?
Yes, he was, I think I put him together in the late 90s, but my pen and inks I started drawing in 1982.
Oh, okay.
Billy's little brother is one of them, and the bunny.
Uh-huh.
And I've just always done them, and I had to do very few for the Colorado book.
Oh, so you already had so many of them.
I did.
Oh, that's
I had a greading card line and still do,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
make more of them all the time. And so I had a lot of pen and ink drawings.
and
available.
so how did you decide, how did you get to where we are today with a whole book and one that you illustrated completely? How did this all come to pass?
I had a lot of drawings in my pen and inks, and I was taking a Photoshop class in my Adobe series that I did at Red Rocks. I did a multimedia and graphics design class series, I guess it would. And she said that for our final project we could choose from several, and one was write a children's book. So here I am.
Wow. So out of a class from Red Rocks and your drawings before, you have a fully completed children's book.
It only took 10 years.
It only took 10 years.
I didn't know where to go or who to talk to or what to do to get it put together,
Okay.
but I tried.
Well, and that brings up another question I want to ask you. I know that you are associated with a wonderful organization called SEPA. Tell me about your involvement with SEPA and how they helped you put the book together.
Okay, SEPA is Colorado Independent Publishers Association, and they have everybody you would ever need, every company from editors to authors to printers, photographers, and they all want to help you, which is so wonderful. They don't want to keep their part secret. They want to give it to you or sell it, but
Yeah.
they just really want to help. And I found all of my necessities to put the book out through them.
They're just a wonderful group.
They are.
Yeah.
They really are.
I've been to a few meetings and have really enjoyed their offerings. And they're a great group of people too.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a very large group,
It's
actually.
wonderful. And people could go to the website and find more about that.
Yes, they can.
SEPA, if they want to find out that.
SEPAbooks.com.
SEPAbooks.com, that'd be wonderful. Let's get back to talking about cute little Billy. I have to ask you, which do you prefer, or which was harder for you, the writing or the illustrations?
Definitely the writing.
Okay.
The drawing is my fun.
Right. You've been doing that for years.
Yes.
And so how did you find your voice? How did you find the story for this? What made you decide to write about him having adventures?
Well, I just started wandering around Colorado one way or the other, and my editor helped me put more direction on it and technical information that we had to dig out, and it was just really an interesting process and educational.
And how did you choose the exact places? Did you have to come up with more for the book, or did you have to weed out some? Because
I had to weed out some.
Yeah. Colorado's pretty great, huh?
A children's picture book is supposed to be only 32 pages.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of places in there. So
Yeah. So we had to weed down to some of the
did.
best ones
The best.
in Colorado.
Well, not necessarily the best ones, but we had to weed down.
So the book is a children's book. It's really great. I loved some of the things that you also included in the back, like some questions to add for maybe a children's book group, and also a list of websites where people could go to find more content. Was this your idea to put this? Was the editor's?
It was mine.
Uh-huh.
I started the questions to intrigue the children to go back and count how many hummingbirds there are, because there are almost one per page.
Okay.
And some animals aren't talked about. He didn't talk to them, they're just there. And things like that. And then I decided, well, you got to give them the answers.
Yeah.
So I started with a page of answers, and then I did the thumbnails, and then I finally added the websites, which are just simple Colorado State websites and National Geographic, if the children are allowed to go there and use the computer.
I love that link to the technology, but especially that the kids can learn a lot more about the topic of your book. It's wonderful. So, Sue, if we go to your website, what types of things will we find out there?
You'll find out more about some of the things that are in the book and some of the things that aren't in the book.
Okay.
I've added pages, added information about places that aren't in the book, or just mentioned slightly, and so they can find out more.
Wonderful. And now, going back to SEPA a little bit, they have some awards called the Evie Awards.
Right.
And you had several Evie Awards
I did.
bestowed on your book. Tell us about some of the different awards that this book has won.
My book won first place for illustrations, second place for the layout and design, and third place for the cover design.
Wow.
I got the fourth one, which was just being nominated, and for the book itself.
That's really wonderful. And how did you feel? This is your first children's book?
It is.
How must it make you feel to win awards for your very first book?
Totally speechless.
Totally speechless.
I did. They had me come up to say thank you and receive my award. I couldn't say a thing. That's unusual.
You said read the book. Read the book. That's fabulous. So your book is about Billy Raccoon's grand Colorado adventure. Where is Billy going next?
Billy is going to go wander around Wyoming.
He's going to go to Wyoming.
He is.
And so since you had so many pictures ready for the Colorado book, do you have pictures already of Wyoming, or are you going to have to start drawing?
I've drawn some, and I probably will fill in with more drawings.
Okay.
Wyoming is so underestimated, under-known about, that I've driven through it a million times. And I didn't realize that there were so many educational, geological, historical things up there. And through the research for the book, I found out a lot.
Oh, that's fun.
It was surprising.
So you have to do a lot of road trips and do a lot of more drawings, and then we'll get to see Billy go to Wyoming.
Right.
We have a map here that will be in the Wyoming book, so it's a little preview,
Right.
really exciting, and so we can't wait for that book. Sue, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your book about Billy, and we can't wait for him to go to Wyoming and tell us all about Wyoming.
Thank you.
You bet. I'd like to thank the authors that I had on the show today. Natasha Wing with her book Fresh Snow and all of her other books, and of course Sue Allegrezza with her book about Billy Raccoon and his grand Colorado adventure. Check your local libraries for the books that we've talked about on today's show, and join us for more next time on Off the Page.